Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Before we just dive back into the book, I'd like to hear how people are doing with the flashcard, All There Is Is Consciousness. Does anybody want to share about that? That it's working, or that it isn't working, or that it's really stupid, or... Anybody using it?
Just because no one else is saying anything. I have, each week when you give these to us, or every other week, I have it up on my desk at work, and it's something I look at and refer to quite often. To be very honest, there's one from a number of weeks ago that I just kind of have clumped onto and seem to use more often, the one where I don't know how this should look. That just seems to come forward to me a lot. But I do keep that right there, and it's in my visual, and I'm looking at it, and so I know I'm taking it in. I just don't seem to use it as readily as that other one consciously.
Does it have any meaning for you?
It's more of an esoteric meaning than I don't know how this should look. It's not something I can grasp, but I know I'm getting it at some level. Does that make sense? It doesn't seem like something I can apply. I don't know.
Intellectual exercise.
Right, so what do you apply?
Well, the intellectual exercise to the situation to see what it looks like. It's not something, I guess it is pretty esoteric, but it's not something that we're trying to get. It's just a deprogramming tool. And we said earlier that God and consciousness and infinite invisible and what is are all synonymous. So, needless to say, we'll have the same flashcard this next week because we're in the same chapter, but if it brings it home to you, you could use all there is God, or all there is Spirit, or all there is the infinite invisible, or all there is what is. If any of those have more meaning to you, or you could try a different one each week, or something like that, and play with it. Eventually, we want to get what consciousness is. And so play with it if you feel like it. And if not, don't. All right, so let's jump into the book. Tonight we get to play with eternal, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, which are the most bandied, least understood words in Orthodox religion. So let's start with what is eternal harmony. That's what we left off. And harmony and eternal have a lot to do with each other.
What is eternal harmony? One aspect or function of consciousness is the ability of page 43. One aspect or function of consciousness is the ability to express itself in time and space. But consciousness containing its expression in mind, part of itself, is outside of mind, and mind contains time. So what is outside of time. This is the true meaning of eternal. Eternal doesn't mean an infinitely long stretch of time that has no starting point and will have no ending point. Eternal means transcending time. Time is one of the constructions of mind. What is, including mind, is eternal. Did we do this last time? We got this in, right? Even though I couldn't do both, it was in there. I don't remember that.
Huh?
I don't remember that.
Oh, you mean last 6 months ago? I don't know whether we did it or not. Probably.
So that's wild. Okay, so eternal doesn't mean an indefinite stretch of time. It's transcending time.
Yeah, everybody thinks of eternal as really long.
Right. Yeah.
And eternal has nothing to do with really long, is the point here. Let's read the next paragraph and we'll jump into it.
Now is another word for eternal. Now is always here, eternally here. Now is when what is. Now is not a part of time. We have been conditioned to think of the future approaching us, becoming now, and then receding into the past. Looking at it that way now seems to be part of time. Mm-hmm. But another way of seeing it is that right now, it's now, and it's still now, and it's still now. It's always now, eternally now. There's no such thing as the future, just thoughts and mind, now, about something that hasn't happened. And there's no such thing as the past, just thoughts and mind, now, labeled memories about something that has happened.
First principle of Job.
I want to make sure people get now. Be here now.
Well, the wonderful part about that is just that life everlasting and is available to everyone.
You can never be anywhere other than here or anyone other than now. Okay? Every place you go becomes here, and every time you wander into becomes now. So it's always now. Everything I ever do, I will do now. I can't do something in the future. I have to do it now. Everything I've ever done was done in the now. Okay? And if you just can stop your conditioning, the idea of time flowing past, look around, there's no time flowing past, it's just, there's no such thing as time flowing past. There's not a clock on the wall, so we can't see the little hand moving. The idea of time flowing is a conditioned thought in the mind. It's just like when you're driving on the freeway. You've got two ways of looking at it. You can look at yourself going down the freeway, and that's the way we think of ourselves as time. Here we are, and now moving through time. Or you can look at yourself here now, and the freeway approaching you and going past you. Okay? They're two totally different ways of looking at the freeway. And one is being here now, and the other one is off in time trying to get somewhere. Well, time is just like that. You can be here now and then watch consciousness unfolding now, or you can get locked up into the sense of the flow of time. Okay? Is that making any sense to anybody? Are you getting... It's obviously impossible to talk about, but I see it very clearly, so hopefully you're getting it because I'm getting it.
Is that why when you're doing something that you're very passionate about, like I think for me like painting, it's like all of a sudden someone will say, class is over and 4 hours has gone by and it doesn't seem...
Sure, because you were in the now.
Okay.
And there was no time there. Sure, exactly. And when you meditate, when you achieve the state of meditation, you have no idea how long it was. You haven't achieved it. You have no idea how long you were there. It could have been a second, it could have been 10 hours, you have no idea, because there's no time. When you're in meditation, you're outside of this little self and you're in big self, and there's no time there. And I had another...
It happens when I go to Nordstrom.
That was another never thought that it didn't last long enough to get taught. Yeah.
Could you comment on what is, including mind, is eternal? So including mind.
Mind is just one of the functions of what is. Mind is the mechanism that what is uses to express itself in time and space. And mind contains time and space. In exactly the same sense, and we're going to beat this one to death before we're done here over the next several weeks, but in exactly the same sense as when you dream at night. The dream takes place in your consciousness. And the 4-hour duration of your dream takes place in your consciousness. And in the lapse time of the body in the bed, it was 1 second, maybe, or 2 seconds. Mind is just, time is just a construct of mind, and the mind that the dream takes place in, the bubble that your dream takes place in, the bubble that is your dream, is within your consciousness. So your consciousness is transcendent of your dream. And that's what I mean here. Mind is just one of the functions of what is. So what is contains it. So what it, and time is way down there inside that function. So mind is clearly transcendent of it and outside of time. So time has no meaning for God. Neither does space, because space is down inside the mind bubble. So for God or for what is, time and space have no meaning. That's all has to do with creation in the universe. Okay, now let's get that last paragraph. That's this section.
The first principle of Joel's teaching is, God is. He commented that God ising. God is not wasing, and never was wasing, and God is not willing.
Contrary to popular opinion.
Right.
And never will be willing. I like ising. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I like ising. To me, that says there is only one presence now. It makes all ideas such as what is, doing something in the future that it is not doing now, or ceasing something in the future that it is doing now. Nonsense, because those are timely considerations, and what is not in time.
Maybe we should use ising for the flashcards next week. Yeah. All right, your flashcard ising. I like that one a lot better than all of those consciousness. It says the same thing, of course. If you ever get any ideas, you got them all. Okay, so one more paragraph there.
Another characteristic of what is harmony. We think of harmony as everyone or everything getting along together. But when we think of everything as aspects of what is, coexisting eternally outside of time, we get a whole new glimpse of what harmony really means.
You see that it backs off a whole step. Harmony is not getting along together. Harmony, as the characteristic of God, takes place outside of time. Harmony is eternal and unchanging. And if you can get that, because it is a legitimate thing to do, since harmony is an aspect of God, of what is, to expect harmony. That's a perfectly valid form of meditation, or way of looking at things. Expecting harmony is a perfectly valid thing to do. And of course, when you do, it does. Okay, so did we all get screwed up on eternal now? Or I mean on eternal now? No. Questions on that? Yeah.
Clarify is. Understand.
Well, is sort of what is his nickname.
Right.
Okay. And is being. It's the same statement as what is being. And the point is that what is being, or isn't. And what is not going to be. It's not it's not wasing. What is now, eternally now. There is no will be and there is no was. So God, or what is not wasing, and there was no was, and God is not willing. Notwithstanding, God is not doing anything in the future. It's right now is what's happening. And the point is that one comment in there. Prayer, Orthodox prayer, is all about getting God to do something for us in the future. Okay? But if you get it that God is outside of time and that isn't right now and it isn't everything it is, and creation is done. Creation is eternal. It's even done is wrong because that implies like it was started or something. But it's not going to change. There's no time. Creation is complete, eternally complete. And so the idea of God changing something because of somebody's prayer is ludicrous. When you get it that what is transcendent of time. There is no time at that level. Time is for us. Time is for people playing this game. Time is a five-sense perception. It takes our mind and our five senses and our conditioning to experience time. And that's all just thoughts. The past is, like it says, the past is just thoughts I'm thinking now that I classify as memories because I did something I call thinking about it, and the place it pops up out of the computer is the file I call memory. But it's happening now. It's thinking right now. There's not a past back there that's controlling me or worrying me. There's my thinking about something that I label past right now. So it's all right now.
So that kind of takes away that concept of birth and death, right?
Outside of this game, we're playing, yes, absolutely, yeah. Certainly, no beginning, no ending.
That means every bit of consciousness that ever was anybody else is all here now.
You can say ever was anybody else.
Right, got it.
Or will be. Now, it's expressed. Joel says all of God is expressed. Okay?
At all times. Now.
Yeah. All of God is expressed now. Eternally. And get it that now and eternally are the same words. That's where this thing breaks down, okay? Now and eternally are the same words.
I love that sentence. There is no such thing as the future, just thoughts in mind now about something that hasn't happened. Because when that was read, I just thought it makes planning and worrying just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's just now. There is that version.
And this now is obviously determining this now, is determining this now. But we are conditioned to think of our future like our destiny, like a freight train coming down the track right at the side of our head, And we're squirming like hell to get out of the way of our future, which is coming at us, Nonsense. No such thing. Right now is now.
I guess the future thing that it doesn't. But what about all the stuff you've already experienced?
All the stuff that you're thinking about now that you label already experienced? When you have a dream at night, the dream doesn't start with you being born. It starts with you in a situation. Okay?
Okay.
And if I walked up to you in your dream, I'm in the dream and you're in the dream, and I walk up here and I say, what did you do yesterday? You tell me. Right?
Yes.
But the dream just started right here. There was no yesterday in your dream. Okay? So right now in the dream, you're going to talk about talks that you label as what I did yesterday.
So you can still have experience, there's just not a place that
didn't happen at a particular time.
You're having an experience right now, aren't you?
Yes.
When you're saying, I experienced great joy 3 days ago, what's in fact happening is right now you're having the experience that you call remembering having great joy 3 days ago. And whether your dream just started 1 minute ago or started a week ago, we don't know. Or 26 years ago.
Hey, I think a few minutes ago you said something about his response. What else you Right now I'm having the experience. Right now in my memory, about expecting harmony, and I think that I've done that incorrectly, and if you would maybe talk about exactly what you meant when you said we can expect harmony.
If God is totally expressed now, and eternally now, and everything that it is expressed as is coexisting eternally now, okay? Then that so exceeds any petty little concept we have of harmony. When we talk about, an eternal, perfect coexistence, harmonious gets a whole new meaning, okay? And that's what I mean by God is harmony, and it is being expressed right now. And so when I say expressed harmony, what I'm really saying is look for it. Because it is right now. There is nothing being expressed but eternal, successful, perfect coexistence.
So then, one of the definitions I could use for resistance behaviors is anything that pulls me out of now, or the recognition now that.
Yeah, but why go to resistance behavior? A definition of being human, a definition of having a thought is that which pulls me out of now. Okay, every thought is that which pulls me out of now. Why go to the same thing as complicated as resistance behaviors?
So the only
Thinking pulls you out of the now. Thinking pulls you out of now.
Is harmony also synonymous with now?
Okay. So it's an aspect of now. I don't know if we want to, synonymous gets a little fuzzy. But
You say thinking pulls me out of harmony.
Certainly does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is that your experience?
Yes.
And
when
if you're not thinking, you can't not be in harmony. You can't have a problem if you're not thinking. Because the problem is the labor. Yeah, exactly. You want to say the electric
But and that's why in meditation, when I get to that moment of no thoughts, it's just like,
yes, precisely. You're experiencing harmony. Or the now. Every meditation technique, every spiritual practice that has any validity at all is designed to give you that break in thinking, the gap in thinking, in which you will realize what is, because it can't not, here it is, and experience the harmony of the bliss. They do in 3 or 4 seconds, they start giving it fancy names like samadhi. What do they do? Have a degree in Sanskrit, so you can use that one. But that's it. And another thing they call it is silence. Right? Or you could call that, feeling of presence, which is blissful. Yeah, this squirrel cage. Yeah, oh, it's in a squirrel cage. All right, now that we're totally polished up, let's think about omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence, and we'll stop there. Obviously, we've got that, but I want to get these 4 words loose in your heads for a week. So go ahead and start reading about the 3 O's.
Okay. Omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. Omniscience, all-knowingness, infinite intelligence. Omnipresence, everywhere and always present. And omnipotence, all-powerful. There are 3 more words that are frequently used to describe aspects of what is.
Orthodox religion constantly talks about God being omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, but they do not really mean it. They pray to God to overcome other powers like disease, which means they don't believe God. God is omnipotent, and they inform God of things in their prayers, which means they don't believe that God is omniscient, omnipresent. Metaphysical religions also show they don't really believe in omnipotence, as they attempt to use the power of divine mind to overcome material powers in carnal mind or in mortal mind.
Okay, that's clear. Okay, so now let's find out what the words mean. Go ahead, please, John.
Humanistically, these words make perfect sense. Since what is consciousness, the consciousness, and everything that is one with what is part of consciousness, then omniscience simply means that consciousness is conscious of all of itself, self-conscious.
That's too fast.
Repeat them.
Read the paragraph.
So that's
It's all one sentence. Humanistically, these words make perfect sense. Since what is consciousness, the consciousness, and everything that is one with what is part of consciousness, then omniscience simply means that consciousness is conscious of all of itself, self-conscious.
If it's all in consciousness, how could what is not be omniscient? What can be outside of consciousness that we know about? What can be outside of consciousness that we're conscious of? Is the question. See, obviously we're conscious of everything we're conscious of. It's a tautology. That's all. Omniscience means that God is, means that all there is consciousness. Okay.
Omnipresence has almost the same meaning. Since everything is contained in what is, then what is clearly everywhere. Whatever everywhere means. Here means where I am conscious. There is nowhere that is not here in what is.
Do you agree that when I'm talking about here, I'm talking about where I'm conscious? Where I am conscious? And then do you agree that if what is consciousness and all of creation is expressed within what is, that everywhere is here to what is? And that's what omnipresent means, isn't it? Everywhere present. Or I prefer it without the W, every here present. See, these words make perfectly good sense. if you're thinking mystically, and they make no sense at all orthodoxly.
Yes.
And of course, the Orthodox people are the ones that found it. Okay, one more.
Omnipotence is also trivial. Being all there is, what is obviously the only power, although we might ponder what power means, where there is no time in which to exert it, no where to exert it, and nothing to exert it upon.
So omnipotence, that thing that we all thought was so wonderful, really turns out to be absolute uselessness, you know.
Yeah.
How is the thoughts, the carnal mind, moral mind, whatever, that takes us out of harmony, that is not outside of consciousness, but you can't, I don't know what I'm trying to ask. Is consciousness aware of mesmeric influence, moral mind?
Are you?
It seems like I'm either there or not.
When you're conscious of it, consciousness is conscious of it.
Yes.
That aspect of it which is conscious through you is conscious also of the game we're playing here, conscious of the human experience. Clear, you know, all it is consciousness, and consciousness is the consciousness I'm talking about is the consciousness that you talk about when you say I'm conscious. Okay? And as human beings, we'll get to this in the next chapter, which is what appears to be, but as human beings, we have a very limited concept of all of this. And so what we're seeing is our concept of it, our very limited sense of it, but we're conscious of it. So we're really conscious at two levels. We're conscious at the level of spiritual being, and we're also conscious at the level of human experience. And we can toggle back and forth. But usually we're just locked into believing in our five senses and the thoughts that are in our brain, which is the sixth sense experience that keeps us locked in this game of life. But there are higher views.
Yes, does the word subconsciousness have anything to do with the consciousness that we're discussing? Or is it just another terminology that
I think subconsciousness, we don't use it especially here. I think subconsciousness is just a psychological term for those driving forces of us that we're not actively conscious of, For instance, we talk in our script work about having repressed a bunch of stuff, and we repress it into the subconscious. That's just part of, that's a psychological term. And it's not the consciousness we're talking about. We could use the word awareness here.
Okay, because I was going to say, for me, the word subconsciousness seems to be synonymous with consciousness, for my ability to listen and be aware of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but psychologically they use it as the repressed parts of it, they use your subconsciousness as the part of your consciousness that you're not conscious of. It has baffled me just a bit. I sort of wonder whose consciousness is it for this part that I'm not conscious of, are you peeking? I'm not, but anyway, that's not, we're talking about the consciousness that is, awareness is a better word because it doesn't have the psychobabble connotations with it. We're talking about awareness, the fact that you're aware right now of all of this, and of the fact that you're aware and of your thoughts, and that's the particular content that you're aware of at this moment. Okay?
Our current prayer practice may be completely eliminated when we think in terms of praying to an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent being. There's nothing it doesn't know, so nothing to tell it. Nothing it isn't doing, so nothing to ask for. Nothing outside of it, so nothing to overcome.
and no time existing in which to initiate, change, or terminate anything.
Okay, so think about that. What are you going to pray for?
Just to wake up. Do it.
In the future, huh?
Now. To identify with awareness.
Yes. Yeah.
What is aware of my conscience of this world?
I hear the question, I mean, the answer is yes, because you're aware of your concepts, and there's all there is the one consciousness. But when we say that what is expressed as individual consciousness, don't think of it as somebody that's back there that's holding the reins on all of these and eavesdropping on all these individual consciousnesses. What is expressed as individual consciousness. So as you, it's aware of your concepts. As me, it's aware of my concepts. And I know you'll hear in Joel, and you'll hear from lots of high infinite way teachers that God doesn't know anything about this or that or the other thing, meaning that God doesn't know anything about the human experience, but that's a very limited definition of God. And when we're using the global term of consciousness of what is, clearly what is the consciousness of your concept, because you're conscious of your concepts. The same answer to the book stuff. So as you, it's aware of your concepts. Now, as a pure spiritual being, we'll get into that into what appears to be, but your concepts are not true concepts. Your concepts are hypnosis. And just like a hypnotized person, if you hypnotize somebody to see a white poodle right there that isn't there, okay? Then we all look over there and we don't see the white poodle, and we know you're hypnotized, and you do see the white poodle, and you don't know you're hypnotized, but nonetheless you are seeing the white poodle, okay? You're aware of it. Whether it's real or not is a different question. And we can say that what is always aware that your concepts are hypnotism. But hypnosis is taking place. The very limited concept you have of yourself is filled with other concepts. And you're limited by those and therefore aware of them. So yeah, the way I refer to it certainly is.
Yeah. It seems like it would almost read more clearly as to what is. In that there's nothing what is doesn't know, nothing to tell what is, nothing what is isn't doing, so nothing to ask for, nothing outside of what is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know, just seems, because that's where where we are. Because it seemed to switch to it.
Yeah, well,
We've been ising.
I'm thinking of the it as I'm thinking of the it as whatever it is you think you're praying to. Why that concept exists. That's the target of your prayer.
Oh, okay.
Next paragraph.
You might understand omnipresence and omnipotence more clearly by looking at your own dreams again. According to the material story, you're lying in bed, you have a brain inside your skull, and your consciousness and subconsciousness are functions of your brain. Your subconscious needs to express itself while you're asleep, so you have a dream, a bubble, so to speak, within your own consciousness, in which time and space are created. The space inside your dreams is dream space that isn't really anywhere. When you wake up, it never was. The time which elapses in your dreams within the second or so that you were dreaming may be hours. When you wake up, that time never was.
What's your experience was for the several hours of the dream, by the way? Notice, sort of, I can reference to the question about whether what is aware of the hypnosis. When you're dreaming, the dream may only last for 1 hour, 1 second, but you had an experience that lasted for hours, and you experienced that, and you wake up and you're aware of that entire experience. Isn't that interesting?
Like the emotional reaction that I had when I was newly sober in the drunk drink. It would be so powerful that my entire body would really flinch, and yet it hadn't happened. But yet everything in me almost had the experience of it.
And the experience that you experienced was for the duration of the time in the dream.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, it lasted for a second, but I mean, an hour or 3, I had lots of dreams where where things have taken place over time. I recall sitting in a bar, speaking of drunk dreams, sitting in a bar with Rock and Ron. And the two of us are drinking our beers and trying and having a discussion and trying to remember why it is that beer doesn't count. And that day probably lasted that long. You know, we had this nice discussion, you know.
So this 41 years really could just this current expression that my carnal mind sees as 41 years is really.
You don't know that you won't wake up in a minute.
Yeah.
This might be, you might wake up and find yourself in bed. You don't know that you won't. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same.
It's so kind of
Isn't that a sweating thought? It's exactly the same. That's in mind. Thoughts in mind. Let's read the next paragraph to finish the dream thing, and then we can let it.
What went on in your dream was precisely what you, the dreamer, were conscious of. Anything that you were not aware of was not in the dream. In other words, you, the observer, were everywhere in the dream, omnipresent, and knew everything that happened in the dream. Omniscient. Can you say that, please?
Omniscient.
Omniscient. Thank you. Omniscient. Because it was in your, you were conscious of it.
Okay, you get it in your dream. You, the consciousness that is creating the dream, is omnipresent in that dream and omniscient. Because there's no part of that dream which is outside of your consciousness, right?
Even parts that were not in, right? So if I had a dream and there was a part of the dream that I wasn't in the dream, I still was aware of that part.
There you are. It's in you. And there's no part of your dream that is not within your consciousness, the subconsciousness that's creating the dream. I mean, if it's not in your subconsciousness, it's not part of your dream. So you see that your dream shows very clearly what omnipresence and omniscience means. And it means exactly the same thing in the sense of what is a universal consciousness. That's all I'm trying to say. The dream is just a great parallel to allow you to see this. Go ahead, please.
And omnipotence becomes clear here because although all the people who appeared to you in your dream acted as if they were autonomous, doing their own thing, making their own decisions, causing you grief, exercising free will, you are dreaming it. It's your subconscious that's generating the whole thing. Everything in the world is in effect your consciousness. No one within the dream, including the you in the dream, really has any independent power to do anything. Everyone, including the you in your dream, says what your subconscious is expressing. That's almost fun. for instance, really no one has any independent power to do anything?
In your dream.
Now.
No, we're talking about the dream in your subconscious. I mean, we can extend it later if you want. We're talking about the dream in your subconscious at night. And there are all these people running around doing things. And if you ask any one of them if they had free will, they say yes they do, yes they're making decisions, yes they're choosing what they're doing, but your subconscious is generating the dream. Those people in the dream are the effect or the expression of your subconsciousness.
So, we're talking to the dream, but isn't that the metaphor for this now?
Well, it's the metaphor for God and God's expression. For what is and what is his expression. It's not a metaphor, it's an exact example.
So is that a truth that no one has any independent power to do anything now?
Well, we're not at the point where we need to jump into free will at this point, but clearly if God is the only power, then nobody has power to do anything independently, do they? I mean, either by omnipotence or don't. And I'll ask you another question, which you can work on for the rest of the book. Who makes those independent decisions? You can identify the who that has the power to make the independent decisions. We'll talk about it.
Any independent decision?
Any independent decision.
Well, you can't do it.
Does the silliness of everything just get you sometimes?
Like now?
Wow.
Yes, now you're seeing it.
It just seems really stupid.
I think you got it.
And it's that thing that we learned, you're in a high spiritual place and you don't give a shit about anything.
Precisely.
The speaker at the Saturday night meetings talked about drinking made him not care. He's like, when I drank, I didn't care about anything.
And he was happy.
Couldn't help but think about that.
And he was happy.
Yeah.
That's right. Ignorance is bliss has a lot of merit. I don't think we want to go on any further than those 4 words. I like the pace we're going. It's just, a couple of sections at a time, so we can talk about this now. But think about it. Go back and read the part about the dream. Think about what goes on in the dream. And think about the fact that your subconscious is creating it, and it's entirely within your subconscious, and there's all these people in there doing all this stuff, but clearly it's your subconscious which created it all, and it's your subconscious which is the substance of it all. I mean, all that stuff is made out of whatever dreams are made out of, whatever consciousness is made out of, and it's your subconscious which determines the entire course of events that take place in the dream. It can't be those people in the dream because there are no people in the dream. It's all a dream, okay? There are no people in the dream to be deciding their own course of action. It's all a dream. When you wake up, they didn't go somewhere. They just never were. Yeah? So, clearly, in your dream, your subconscious, not the you inside your dream, but the one that's part of your consciousness, which is creating the dream, is omnipresent, is omniscient, and is omnipotent. And everything in the dream, and this will be important later on, so think about it, everything in the dream is an expression of your subconscious, which is to say that everything in the dream is an effect. Okay? And there are no causes within your dream. None of those things in your dream, so in your dream somebody kills somebody else, and we think, well, the guy that killed him caused the other person's death, okay? But no, that's all effect. There are no causes in the dream. The fact is the subconscious caused this guy to kill that guy and that guy to die, and the sequence to be this way. Your subconscious generated the whole thing. And everything in your dream is just an effect. There's no power out there, and there's no source out there, and it's just all effect.
So how do I change the content of my consciousness if I don't like the effect?
That's what you're doing here. Learn the truth and realize the presence of what is, and what is expressed. Rather than, you would be perfectly happy if you saw what is expressed as, rather than seeing your concept of what is, what is expressed as. It sounds like I'm double talking, but if you saw what is has expressed itself as, rather than your concept of that, you would be infinitely happy. If you saw what is expressing itself as, instead of seeing your concept of that, you would be in bliss.
I think that should be your new answering machine message.
That certainly. Certainly get rid of the.
Somehow when you say that, the thought comes that my expectations can disorderly plug everything up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not even expectation. I mean, certainly your expectations and Apple are fucking things up because they introduce resentments.
So based on my concept.
No resentments, but concepts.
Yeah.
Concepts, pure and simple, yeah. All your concepts are exactly what is preventing you from seeing. See, what we're doing here is we're talking about what is must be, okay? We're talking about what it really is, okay? And I'm quite aware of the fact that that's not what we're experiencing, okay? That's the next chapter is called What Appears to Be. This chapter is called What Is. We need to know what it is that's going on first, and then we'll talk about what appears to be and perhaps why it appears to be so. But what we're trying to establish here, or make a case for here, I don't know, establish is way too strong a word, but what we're trying to do is point at the characteristics of what is that we can sort of infer. And that includes the fact that it has expressed itself, that it is consciousness, that it has expressed itself, that it's been sustained itself, although even that doesn't make sense now that we talk about time, and that it's eternal, and that it's harmonious, and that it's omnipotent, and omniscient, and omnipresent. Now that's a whole bunch of characteristics of what is that we've introduced already in 2 weeks. It's a lot of stuff, and it's a starting place to look at. And then we're going to be left with the problem that, well, if that's what it is, if that's what it is, what's this? And that's the next chapter. And Diana will ask why, and I'll tell her I still don't know. I don't know, it's having fun.
Consciousness is everything.
I'm sorry?
No, it's okay. Consciousness is everything. That means that I don't exist. It's like when the Joel said the baby, the baby doesn't.
Independent. You as you conceive of yourself, you as an expression of God, exist.
My body, I just listened to a tape of Robert Adams who said everything is nothing.
Mm-hmm. Easy for him to say.
Yeah.
It's not really straight up. Listen to him.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. You guys' problem is I sat there listening to Robert Adams for 3 times a week for 7 years. So that's your problem, not mine. I listened to him until I heard him. But yeah, your idea that you're a separate creature is false. The idea that God has expressed itself as you is true. The idea that God has expressed itself as what you think you are is false. That's your concept again. The idea that God has expressed itself as what it has expressed itself as is true, and that that's you. And that consciousness is the consciousness that you're using right now to ask these questions with. Okay? To that extent it's true, but then you have all these concepts about what it is. You've got this material concept. You're still locked into the material consciousness, the mental consciousness, and you've got this idea that this body is real, solid, and I'm only this big, and I'm limited, my IQ is only whatever it is, and you're sitting there ignorant of your omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. All of which you are, as an expression of God. So it's just your concept, but get it right. You exist. This is reality. But our concept of it is grossly erroneous, grossly limited. Trying to comprehend things spiritual through 5 physical senses in a small finite computer doesn't work.
You know, when you say the you that you are is God expressing as you, it's the you. It's the how you define the you. Mm-hmm. You're saying you, Cynthia, you, then that's all wrong. Right? Because I automatically think of Joanne.
God is expressing itself as impersonal individual consciousness. And impersonal means that it's the consciousness that you think of as you this lifetime, but it's the same consciousness that you thought of yourself as Pete in your last lifetime, and Mugambo 17 lifetimes ago, and it's still the same consciousness, which is impersonal. The personality is down here, part of this game we're playing. It's impersonal. Just like it's expressing itself as the impersonal consciousness of the cat, and of the plant, and of the rock. Different levels of consciousness, of expression of consciousness. Yes, sir.
I think you said that this is reality. Correct?
That reality is here is what I should have said.
Reality.
What you're seeing is not reality because you have this problem with concepts.
Is the past reality?
There is no past.
Only now is reality.
Mm-hmm. Reality is here now, is perhaps a correct way to say it, or a fairly close to correct way to say it, but not what you're seeing.
Not perceivable by your 5 senses.
Right. There is
Or your mind.
a spiritual expression, yes, there is a spiritual expression of what is omnipresent, which includes now. And what you're seeing is what you're seeing while you're playing this game in the middle.
I feel like, in the program, we try to get to be better people, and when you say this, it seems like it doesn't really matter what we do. Like, we're not going to change because
You're playing at lots of different levels. If you want to know who you really are, then you have to go through a lot of stages to get there, and one of them includes cleaning up your act. Because you're not going to get through a class that teaches truth until you've got some order, and this is a luxury being here. Most people are out there trying to earn dinner and pay rent, so this is a luxury being here. So you have to have cleaned up your act before you can even get into classes that claim to point at the moon. I mean, there's lots of stages in the lesson, and they're all necessary. Just like learning the letter of truth is anonymous. We're learning all these words, and none of them have any meaning at all. And we're pointing, it's all hands, the moon's up there somewhere, it's all pointing, And yet, by learning the letter of truth, we get lifted to where we start to be able to discern truth with something other than our five senses. Which, the fact that we aren't limited to our five senses and our sequential thoughts. When we use the word intellect, I don't want to use mind because it's confusing. We believe that we're limited, that our only input is our five physical senses and our intellect. And that's a lie. We have intuition. We have inspiration. We have discernment. Have you ever noticed that when we talk about things of a more spiritual nature, we use the five sense things? When you say, when you get something, you say, oh, I see. I don't believe I heard that, you say, or that leaves a bad taste in my mouth when somebody behaves poorly. We can only talk in terms of our five senses, but we have lots of other stuff going on, and what we've learned to do, what we have to do is stop believing the nonsense our five senses are presenting us so that we can start seeing what's really there. That's what Jesus was talking about, having eyes but not seeing, having ears but not hearing. Remember that? He said that you have eyes but you don't see, you have ears but you don't hear. Because what you're seeing is the hypnosis. Yeah.
What was that question you said about asking who has, it was about the independent power? What was the actual question you said, that if you really want to, ask yourself something? Do you remember?
Whatever everybody wants to know about free will, which is one of the things that everybody wants to cling to and nobody wants to give up or anything, and I don't teach anything about free will at all, I just ask you who has it.
So who has any power to do any, talk about independent power, so who has any independent power?
Who has free will?
Oh, okay.
To exercise independent power, you have to have free will, okay? And who is it that has the free will?
The false concept.
If you are an expression of God, if all there is expressions of God and you are an expression of God, then you're saying an expression of God has free will. But no, an expression of God has God will, right? So I'm just asking you, we won't get into a lengthy intellectual discussion about free will. What I have to do is, who has the free will? The question's wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the lessons in the Course in Miracles. Your will and God's will.
Can't not do.
Can't not do.
So what about this concept of self-will? Is that just the bit of the concept when we talk about self-will?
What self?
Right.
Which self?
So this flashcard this week is I would think that I've used this before, just like I think Dulce's retreat, it had that kind of that headline or something like that. So I use that a lot, and I found I've used it finding myself, bringing myself back to the present as soon as I catch myself, because it's all about being right here, right now. If you catch that, my mind drifts off, which it does all the time, and bringing it back to is thinking that.
One part of that should bring you here, but the other part is to realize that whatever you're seeing is isn't. Whatever is going on out there is your concept of isn't. That's what is the attitude.
What happens to me when I come into the all-there's consciousness is I'm thinking about me and I'm thinking about some other person and I'm usually thinking about some conflict or whatever situation, and suddenly I hear you saying there is no other person. There is no you. That's what happens when I say all-there's consciousness.
Cool. Working good.
The me disappears, the they disappears, the problem disappears.
Good. Working great for you. Keep using it. Everybody else uses it. Either one.
The same thing.
Whatever works for you. These things, it's like hey, wait a minute. Rethink this, see this, take another look. But, slap up the side of the head. Wait a minute, what is this?
How much there's nothing out there?
But then there's nothing in here either.
Boy.
So let's all go there. Out there or in there. Let's get quiet. Obviously that's more than we can handle. Let's get quiet for a minute. I don't know if you're going to learn anything here, but we're sure going to shake you loose from some stuff. Okay, thanks for coming. I love y'all.